It's my first time watching that. Hopefully it's a blizzard in Jordan-Hare Stadium for this game, because we're just a couple days away and the stage is set. Everything on the line. Once again, welcome to the college football playoffs. Welcome to the show. Thank you guys for being here tonight. One last say before we hit the road. Jordan-Hare Stadium, place where weird things happen, a spot where Auburn teams who have had seasons like this year get a lot of teams. And as I typically do, as weeks go on, the way I think about games kind of evolve over the days of the game week. And I got to tell you, I'm on a bit of a nervous swing right now. Because I'm thinking about A&M's team. I'm thinking about where we are on the arc of the 2024 season, year one under Mike Elko. Specifically the offense. Now, real quick on the defense, I have a ton of faith in the players you have. You've been consistent in terms of the dudes on the field for the most part throughout the year, outside of like some nickel changes and stuff like that. You had a bad game versus South Carolina. I have a good feeling, even against Jarquez Hunter, even against one of the best statistical running backs in the SEC, that you can find some success. But offensively, I'm having some apprehensions, and I'm hoping maybe you guys can talk me through this. What is the Aggie offense? Who are we? I think this next game, these next two games, we're really kind of in flux still going into it, at least the way I feel about the team. Because you think about how the season's gone. Your best offensive games, Florida, Missouri, LSU. The Florida game was very much a power running game. That was kind of the success story. But you did sprinkle in a little bit of Marcel Reed, third down heroics, throwing on the run, clutch plays, clutch passes, clutch scrambles. But really that game was built off of between the tackles ability that A&M had. Le'Veon Moss mostly, Amari Daniels a little bit, and a lot of Marcel Reed running as well. And then you found enough passing game to complement that. I think that game might kind of be the blueprint of what we want to be. Because when you go to the Missouri game, obviously, that was Connor Wigman. That was a very balanced passing and running approach, statistically about 250 each, give or take, yards in the game. But it's a different quarterback now, and you don't have Le'Veon Moss. So another difference between that and now. You look at the LSU game. You ran all over them. The zone read was very successful when you threw Marcel Reed into the game. But they didn't expect a running quarterback in that game. They clearly were not ready to handle zone read. That was very clear based on how they attacked mesh points, based on how they had multiple defenders running to the same assignment on those kinds of plays. And yes, you played really, really well down the stretch. Marcel Reed played great. Le'Veon, Amari, O-line, they all played great down the stretch. That was a great defensive game. But offensively, I don't know if you can recreate that with a week of practice against a quarterback like Marcel Reed. You sprinkle in some bad of South Carolina. Hopefully you can flush the toilet and get past that one. That was a story of defensive struggles, and I think that snowballed the game. Yeah, the offense didn't score in the second half. You couldn't get short yardage. But I think the defense was kind of the name of the game and why you lost that South Carolina game. You had the tune-up versus New Mexico State. Threw the ball a lot of times, and that leaves you to now. What does this offense look like when it's at its best? And the fact that I really don't have a clear answer for that now without Le'Veon Moss, it makes me nervous. So if I'm imagining, if I'm hoping, if I'm dreaming, this is an RPO-based team. You get the run-pass option going. You can neutralize some edge rushers. You can neutralize that. What DJ Durkin has done is really, really well. They're a very versatile front seven attack you're going to get from Auburn. And in the best case scenario, I think the RPO gives you the flexibility to handle that. But Marcel Reed hasn't operated the RPO great up until the most recent game, which does bode well for our chances. So it's a lot of RPO. I would like to say you can run between the tackles. I would like to say you can lean on your running game. But there's a shortage of bodies in that running back room now. So I don't know how many times you're willing to rush in a game. Are you willing to give E.J. Smith that lion's share carry that he needs to have a sustained running attack in the game? I don't know about that. And then, of course, Reuben Owens, probably not really playing this game. Even if he does play, I would assume it would only be a few snaps just to kind of get his ramp up going. I don't think he'll have a big impact in this game right now if he's able to play. So it really leaves me apprehensive because this is a dangerous Auburn team. I know a lot of Aggies think we're going to win the game. I do too, but still nervous. I thought we were going to win the South Carolina game too, and we didn't do that. We didn't perform, obviously, defensively in that game. Auburn has been a strange team. if you look at their statistics, they're top 30 offensively in most categories. They move the ball. They're able to make explosive plays. They're able to run the ball with a 1,000-plus yard back, and they have a rotation of running backs they're pretty happy with. Although one stands above the rest in Jarquez Hunter, this could be the game that Jarquez gets his 20-plus carries in a game, because I don't think he's gotten more than 17 carries in most games. They're very sparing with their carries, even towards their lead man. If they lean on him, they could move the ball a lot. I think A&M's defense is going to be fine. It's the offense, man. This is a good defense you're going up against, and this is an effective team, I think, outside of critical mistakes that have lost them games. You look at the OU game, big turnover, pick 6 into that game. They lost it. It was a close game, but Georgia game, pretty competitive throughout the entire game. Missouri game, they had a big lead in that game, and they blew it at the end. A lot of these games, they're right there, and they just don't finish drives very well. Now, I think A&M's defense will have a say in slowing that attack down and maybe able to force them into mistakes. But how can you answer? So, guys, I want to hear from you. In the chat, when you call in, what is this Aggie offense after Le'Veon Moss, now with Reed as your starter, now fully scouted week to week, and the receiver room that we know it is, and tight ends we want to see more involved, and an offensive line that's been really good on the air. What does this attack look like? Because I'm having trouble figuring out exactly what that is, and I think this next game will give us that answer. But you barely have any time left to find that out, because you feel like you've gone through a lot of changes throughout the year with the quarterback and now with the running back and interior O-line injuries. A lot of changes that kind of leave you uneven, at least as a whole. So I want to hear that from you guys. Thank you again for being here, guys. I'm going to see who's here in the chat. And I would appreciate it if people would call in tonight, because we're going to have another Hall of Fame competition. If anybody can get the score prediction right on a call tonight, you will enter the Hall of Fame. If you get the score prediction right, you will be immortalized on the channel. You will be written in Sharpie on that board for all future shows until that board runs out of room, and then you'll be on the side. But you'll still be there. So if you want to be immortalized, call in, give us your score prediction. Let's see who's here today. I see Jeb with the new unis. We better effing win. Yeah, man, I know the unis look sharp. The unis look sharp, all white. It's a blizzard. I think that's the best road look. I like the all whites. It feels better when you win in them, right? Jay Win, let's get a big dub and momentum going into the Texas game, guys. Hope everyone has a blessed week. Gig 'em. I'm not slipping up and talking about Texas yet. I know I almost got reeled into a Texas discussion last show. Thank you, Jeb. I let you take that rant. If you want to listen to the last 30 minutes of that last live show, we had an incredible rant from Jeb talking about all things Texas, A&M, Auburn. He covered everything. That was great. But thank you for being here, guys. Thoughts on the basketball tournament in Vegas after last night's near nuclear disaster? It was a terrible first half. You rebounded well in the second half. Please build off of that. Please make free throws. Please hit shots. We'll see what happens. What's up, Alex Flo? McCavin Price, I'm here early, son. I see you in the waiting room. We have no one else in the waiting room. The call-in link is pinned in the chat. We have plenty of room to take some calls. We only have Big Mac in there right now. That's McCavin Price. Looking forward to the rant, sir. Thank you for getting in there early. Derek Jones, gig 'em y'all nervous but excited. I hear you, man. David doesn't have the energy to rant after last night. Took it out of him. Broken Coast Outdoors, first time getting a chance to watch this live. How do I call in? Just click that link, man. It's super self-explanatory. All you need is an internet connection. Super easy to do. Just click it, and it'll all become very clear to you. We got a little whiskey pour tonight. Got to talk Aggie football with a little whiskey in the system. Alex says, I want us to play another complete game. We need to win. We need this win. We need it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to play your best football going on the road. Again, a team that hasn't had the outcomes that you would want, but a team that, again, has put stats up, has had positive aspects of their team. A&M has to play well to win this. It's not a game you can sleepwalk through. Absolutely, Alex. Who else is in here today? Alejandro Gutierrez, was today's National Signing Day? No, but we're getting Twitter activity like it is because Underwood just decommitted from LSU and committed to Michigan with a very, very public NIL battle. $10+ million in this guy's decision to lure him away from LSU to Michigan. Yeah, that's the top recruit in the country right there, and that's probably the most high-profile NIL battle we've seen since that became a thing, since that stuff started becoming public about a couple of years ago. That stuff's been in the back doors like pretty much forever, but NIL-wise, it's become more and more public as it's become more permeated through the system, if you will. And this was the big headliner that was above all of them, and I expect to see more stuff like that. But no, not signing day today. Things can still change. It's right around the corner, though, guys, and I'm glad we have this big home game to close it out to get a last group of visits before signing day in just a couple of weeks. Ben Capatillo, howdy Drew, howdy everybody. Thanks for being here, Ben. David says beat the hell out of Auburn, then Oregon, then Creighton. Absolutely. Ronnie Barker out of Tokyo, caught a live at work. Oh, caught a live. Work has been getting in the way since time difference. I appreciate you being here every time, Ronnie, all the way out of Tokyo. Little Shy, will we win this game? I'm betting we will. A&M's only a 2.5-point favorite in the game. Vegas thinks it's close. I wonder why Vegas made the line the way it is, and that's something I kind of wanted to address tonight. A&M's a 2.5-point favorite against a 4-6 team on the road late in the year. So that could obviously just be Vegas playing games, trying to make us feel this game could be closer than it is, try to get some competitive betting going, but usually that's not the case. It's such a wide margin. You would feel like A&M's about a touchdown favorite going into it, just feel-wise, and of course I'm biased. But 2.5, I think that has to be a reflection off the South Carolina game and the way A&M did not perform on the road there, the way A&M was very uneven on the road at Mississippi State, and the last good home game you had was early in the year versus Florida. So I would assume that factor is weighing heavy on that very close Vegas line right now. And while I do think we win the game, I do think it's still, to this day, a game that you could absolutely lose. So I'm saying yes, Little Shy, but I'm not extremely confident in that. John Peroni, good to see you, man. Have to be able to contain on the outside, yes, and they will test you there. They're going to run the ball. They're going to pass a lot. Hugh Freeze loves to pass the football. So, yes, they will run, and maybe this is the game where they go run heavy, and that'll really test A&M's outside contain, which, with the way, like we talk about, A&M plays a lot of man defense. You have to be Johnny on the spot with your gap contain, because a lot of times you're not getting defensive back help right away if they're having to turn their backs to the play covering their man. So the linebackers, the robber safety, if you're playing that kind of a defense in the cover one, those guys have to be on point in this game against a very, very lethal running back. And a running back that is honestly, in Jarquez Hunter, made lemonade a lot on the year because the O-line, it's not a great O-line. I wouldn't call it a terrible O-line in the running game. Pretty mediocre pass protection, but in the run game, they're decent. But even when it's broken down, Jarquez Hunter has been able to just make shit happen. And that's what makes him such a great back. He doesn't need great blocking to make things happen. So tackling, gap contain, Jeb, you hit it on the head. You have to contain very, very well. Is that our weakness on defense? It's been our weakness in losses, is the gap discipline and outside contain, Little Shy. Kelly Clark, good to see you. Ronnie Barker, since I can't call in, I'm going to go 38-17 Aggies. I would be overjoyed. Guys, we're doing a watch party Saturday night. I'll be very nervous. We'll be going through it together. But if the Aggies win, you better believe that watch party will quickly turn into a Miller Lite celebration. Because I'll be overjoyed if A&M can find a way to win 38-17, Ronnie. I love that score. I love it. I'm sticking with mine, 28-17. What's up, gang? Good to see you, Noble. You going to get a score prediction in tonight? Were you able to watch a little bit of Auburn film? I was able to watch some throughout the week, learn a little bit about the team, and I'm still kind of in flux the way I'm feeling about them because they're a weird team. It's been a very weird season for them. You feel like they could be a 6-win team right now. Who else is in here? Alejandro says 35-14 Aggies. Kelly says a win over Auburn on Saturday will make next week really fun. I know, man. That's like the great prize. You stay alive in the playoff race. You stay alive in the SEC championship race, which that dialogue has really been kind of swept under the rug because everything's 12-team playoff now, Texas game. You forget you're in the running for the freaking SEC right now. I mean, think about how badly we've wanted that over the last 12 years, and you're right here, and it's literally within your grasp. So a lot of things on the line in this game. It's a win versus Auburn. It's a road SEC win, and then all the other things that come with it. It's such a huge game, man. A lot of pressure on A&M, but I do think that Auburn is not without pressure because they have had a mediocre season, and these last two games present a spectacular opportunity for them to scrape out a little bit of belief, a little bit of momentum, a little bit of recruiting momentum in Hugh Freeze and his year two program, a program that is obviously built for the future, not right now with the quarterback situation and not getting one in the portal this last year. Broken Coast Outdoors says, Drew, first time I've ever been able to watch live due to work. Love what you do. I'm originally from Wharton, and I'm hearing Ruben's dad is saying he legit might play soon. Any intel on that? I have no intel. I guess we'll take right now just to take a look at the injury report because as you guys know, in SEC matchups, there are 3 injury reports, or I think maybe there's 4, because one I think drops before the game on Saturday. But there are multiple injury reports that come along during a game week, and we got another update today compared to the last one. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, it's exactly the same. Ruben Owens, again, is doubtful. Chase Besantis, again, is doubtful. Jalen Henderson, again, is questionable. So at least they're not moving backwards. First of all, they're still doubtful. No one has been deemed not able to play this week, at least the guys we thought had a chance to play this week in Owens, Besantis, and Henderson. I'll reiterate my thoughts about Ruben becoming doubtful. First of all, the very general thoughts I have towards it is that it pretty much guarantees we're going to see him again this year. For him to be doubtful with 2 games left in the year, even if he doesn't play this weekend, even if he doesn't play versus Texas, and let's say you hit the floor of the way this season can end, he's going to play in the bowl game because that'll give him another couple of weeks to practice. So he will be playing this year. You're going to see Ruben Owens this year unless he has a setback, I would think right now based on this current timeline that we know. But speaking of that timeline, there's a lot we don't know. We don't know exactly how long Ruben Owens has been practicing, because you didn't have to do an injury report last week because you only have to produce an injury report for SEC matchups. It is the SEC enforces this, so that you have to do this for SEC games. So we didn't get one, obviously, for the bye week. We didn't get one for the New Mexico State game, so we don't really know his status for those 2 games. So it's very possible, this is speculation here, I don't have any inside info, that Ruben Owens has been practicing for a couple of weeks. And I doubt that he would get the doubtful tag having only practiced for 2 days, which is what would have happened if you think he'd only started practicing this week. So we really don't know the timeline. And here's my super speculation, Cap. I think there's a good chance he plays this weekend in a very limited capacity, probably not a very impactful capacity. I think there's a really good chance he plays because I don't think they would just throw a doubtful tag on him this week, show their hand for the next game, where by that point, even if the doubtful turns into an out this week, Texas, the next game, will know a little bit about your injury situation. Why would you give that piece of info out? If you felt like he probably couldn't play this week, if he wasn't going to play this week, why would you even switch it to doubtful? Why would you divulge that information? Because of that, because of the fact that we really don't know the timeline, I do think there's a chance he sees the field in a very limited capacity this weekend. I would think it's limited. Maybe he blows us away and he's been practicing for a while. That's very, very unlikely. But right now, I have just a weird feeling that he does see the field, or he at very least suits up this game. Maybe he doesn't play, but I think he'll probably suit up this game. Again, speculation, could be totally wrong, and echoes similar sentiment to Chase Besantis. I think you wouldn't put the doubtful tag on him now if you really don't think he's going to play. Again, I just don't think you show your hand this early on that situation, given that you have 2 big games left on the year, and if they really weren't going to play this week, why not just call him out? But that's the update, really a non-update. They just kind of stay the same. I would guess they become game time decisions based on what Elko has done. Remember how Elko handled the quarterback situation? Elko was very secretive with Connor Wigman's chances of playing when he was nursing that shoulder injury. And what Elko actually said, that even if Connor was ready to go, he would be called questionable week after week. Just saying that to say that Elko knows you have to play a game with this injury reporting. It can be an advantage to keep teams kind of unknowing about what you're going to do. So, a lot of words. I think there's a small chance he plays this weekend, and I would not write off that opportunity at all at this point. But thanks for bringing it up, Broken Coast, and thanks for being here live. I appreciate that. Kelly Clark says, I think we're 4-2 at Jordan Hare. We've been pretty good at Jordan Hare. Yeah, that history bodes well. I've said it many times. I'm not a historian. I'm not a guy that leans on recent matchup history to determine outcomes of games, but A&M has done well in Jordan Hare Stadium. Owens getting snaps. I would love it. Drew asking the real questions. I know, man, it didn't make me feel great to have to question what our offense is, but again, that's the question I have for you guys. What is this offense? All right. Who else is in here? I want to get through the chat before we get into calls here tonight. I don't have much other material to go through since I was just live a couple days ago. I've dropped a couple of videos this week. I dropped a video last night about Ruben. I don't have much else to go through with you guys, but we'll get into these calls here pretty quickly. Our tight ends have great hands. Need to get them more involved. Absolutely, we do. I would think Theo needs to touch the ball multiple times per game because not only does he have great hands, he gets open and he can make things happen after the catch. A lot of things can happen. Got to rattle Thorne early. You got to get him on the ground because he's a quarterback that pressure works on. He has a very high sack rate under pressure compared to other quarterbacks that he faced. His sack rate under pressure is 28.6% sack rate. So of all the pressures, he's been taken down 28.6% of the time. Compare that to Marcel Reed. Under pressure, Reed only gets sacked 11% of the time. So a very big difference there, just to give you a little bit of perspective on what that means. Noah Tuwavy, good to see you, man. Need a breakout game from EJ. I think that's the best route here running back wise, is that EJ is effective. And again, he doesn't have to be a game changer. He doesn't have to be a game breaker. He just has to push the ball forward. He needs to get 4 yards per clip. The offense works better with Chase Basantis in the game. Great pass pro from Chase Basantis. That's the thing. I think Shanahan and Dewberry have some upside running the ball, but I think in pass pro you really miss Chase Basantis. Don't think we're getting a breakout game from EJ. Offensive production is going to have to come from somewhere else. Passing the ball, maybe RPOs, tight ends. It'd be nice to get an Amari Daniels masterclass this game. Jeb says, oh, lost you there, Jeb. Auburn's like Mississippi State. Even when they're bad, they're still annoying. They're still annoying to play. Yeah, very annoying place to play. Very good home field advantage. Take nothing away from Jordan Hare Stadium. Need a special teams score. I haven't mentioned all year or all week that Auburn has struggled special teams wise this year. Their average starting possession spot on the field is their own 27, and that ranks bottom 30 in the country. So hopefully that continues today. They are trying a new field goal kicker. They're trying their freshman. Their last field goal kicker had 8 field goal misses on the year, which is a lot. And they got to clean up a lot in the special teams, and maybe A&M can take advantage there where they're not very good. They're a bad special teams team. McLean, Drew, what's up? I've got A&M 45-21. I would be overjoyed. I would be spewing all kinds of Aggie propaganda and love if A&M can score 35 in this game. Texas Taurus, Aggies lose to Auburn, then beat Texas. That would be so weird. That would be so weird. Honestly, not impossible scenario right there. John Peroni, 24-13 Aggies. I would absolutely take that. White face masks always look good. Yeah, they look really clean. Typical Buzz Williams, good rebounding, but not consistent offensively. They always bring the hustle. They always bring the rebounding. They bring pretty good defense. I'm pretty happy with the big man situation. Coop the Beast. But it's just the offensive consistency, man. You're right. Just got done watching the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, officially hyped. That's a good movie. I love the original Spider-Man. 1, 2, and 3 is pretty good. Kelly says 31-17 A&M. Ben says 24-17 A&M. You going to the TU game, Drew? Oh, I'm going to be there. I'll be at the game. So if you guys see me, say what's up. My tickets are bought. I will be there for the Texas game. Jay Wynn says 31-17. It's a good one. Jeb says, guys, we're winning this game. I'm staying at home this time. Okay, good. You're not going to jinx us by going out. Randy says, defense will set the tone. Kelly says, do I win a prize if I'm right? You have to call in your score to be entered. You don't really win a prize. You just get immortalized on the show. If you get the score right when you call in, right behind where your message is right there, you'll be on this Hall of Fame. And it is written in Sharp, but you can't erase it. You'll be immortalized on the show. You don't get anything, but you will be featured forever. Like Noble got McNeese right, so Noble has a permanent spot on this show. That's what you get. You have to call it in, though. Just to incentivize people calling in, really. Smash that like button. Hit the likes, guys. Thanks, Jeb. Thanks, Noble. I appreciate that. I'm expecting Auburn to try to run outside on us. It would make sense to test that for sure. Hunter had like 260 against Kentucky, who were no slouches on defense. That was by far his best game of the year. His 3 best games have all come against kind of inferior opposition. I would include Kentucky as one of those bottom teams in the SEC. So that works in A&M's favor. But he's a really freaking good running back. It's a real test. I don't think he's the body. He's definitely not the body that Rocket Sanders or even Lenora Sellers were. I think we'll have a better time tackling him, but you still got to bring that tackling mentality and wrap people up, tackle low, stop hitting high. We saw that once last game from Shamar Turner. That has to be cleaned up. Noah Twig says, I'll be here for the watch party. I can't wait for the watch party, guys. It'll be starting 2:30 this channel. We'll watch the Texas-Kentucky game, and then we'll ease into the A&M Auburn game in the evening. We'll be live pretty much all day, and we'll go pretty late, especially if A&M wins. Stopping the run on the outside has been our weakness all year. 28-24, close game, Aggies. McLean has 42-14 A&M. I love it. We stop Hunter, we win. It's a pretty safe bet right there, Randy. You stop Hunter, you win. Because you could probably, if you force them to pass heavy, you're probably going to force Thorne into mistakes. I love it. I'll call you crazy, but I'll love it as well. If you hold them to 14, score 42, I'm so hyped, man. Trooper Drew, good to see you, man. Says 31-17 Ags. Absolutely. Trey says, them ice uniforms look nice for the weekend. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. We'll be looking good. 28-14 Ags winning a tight game. I got 28-17, so I'm right there in line with you, Chris Kopp. Thanks for being here, man. Ruben should play the TU game. I would think right now that he would likely play in that game. Who knows how effective he is, though? Who freaking knows what Ruben got going on? They keep everything very tight-lipped in this football camp, which is good for us. I wonder when Moss will be back. I wouldn't think this season. I would think if you see him again, it'll be if he doesn't go pro and you get him back next year. That'd be huge. Have the same Michael Scott shirt you have. This one, the quote right there, it's really small. It says, "I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious." We're all a little stitious. Who will Isaiah Rakes be lined up against? The center, the guards. He'll be on the interior, and he'll play probably 20, 25 snaps a game. They rotate the interior D-line pretty heavily. Noah Tuavy with the biggest margin we've seen all day, 42-10 Ags. I would be celebrating. You know we'll be queuing up What Is Love in this show if we get that kind of a score. You're going to the TU game. Hell yeah. Enjoy it. EJ seems slow, but he's hard to get down. Yeah, like I said, he doesn't have to blow off big ones. He just has to be consistent, get 4 yards a pop. How many callers are in the chat right now in the waiting room? We have 3 right now in the waiting room. My mama's from Bama, but she loved Auburn. Nice. Yeah, you got 2 good options if you live in Bama. You get Auburn, you get Alabama. One's been a little bit better than the others, but it's good to love Auburn too. They've had a great program. Broken Coast has it by a 1-point narrow margin kind of a win, 21-20 Ags. Sorry, Mom, going with A&M. You got to go against Mom in this one. That's okay. West Texas Aggie fan, 38-10 Ags. Chris Cobb, again, 28-24 Ags. Shamar Turner has to quiet down the penalties to help us make a run. The whole team needs to slow down the penalties because if we're having big drive-stopping penalties again this game, that'll make you pay on the road 100%. 100%. GG Fine says 2013 Ags. And you got an absolute steal on your TU tickets. Lucky you, because I did not. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. We're going to get right into the calls. Again, we have room for more calls. We only have 2 people waiting in the call waiting room. We have Big Mac and Benzo. Anybody else wants to get in, get your score prediction in the books for the Hall of Fame competition. The link is pinned in the chat. And then beyond that, I want to hear from you guys about this offense. All right. Big Mac, you're on with Drew. How you feeling tonight, my friend?
What's up? Can you hear me?
Got you loud and clear.
All right, I'm driving home right now for Thanksgiving, so
nice.
I usually call in on my PC. So
no, you sound great. How far is the drive for you?
It's only about 2 hours.
Oh, that's not too bad.
I live my hometown's like an hour north of Austin, and I live in College Station. So
okay, yeah, that's not bad at all. Nice. Well, what's on your mind tonight?
So I do have a little bit of a rant, but first I'm going to talk about Auburn.
All right.
I think we win 24-13.
Nice.
I think they kind of play a time of possession, run the ball kind of game, like build up for that upset. I think it's honestly very similar to when we played LSU about 2 years ago. LSU it was like an outside shot to make the playoff. They had to beat us. Then they were going to the SEC championship. They had to win the SEC championship to get in. And I think we're in a very similar position.
Yeah.
And so it is kind of a look-ahead game to that big next game, but we have to win this one.
Absolutely.
So, and we caught them on that one, so hopefully that doesn't happen to us.
Dang, that's a very good and scary comparison right there. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you can't be looking ahead. And Elko talked about how the fact that you're in the playoff now, it's on the road. It's not like you're at home feeling good, feeling comfortable. He's glad. I think it's a good spot to be on the road in, but that's the same thing that happened, exactly like you said, to LSU.
Yeah, it scared the crap out of me when he said, we're solely focused on Texas. I mean, Auburn.
Oh, my goodness. I know. He slipped up. The question was about Texas. It was an innocent slip. I don't think it was a Freudian slip. I think we know Elko well enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, and I think after South Carolina, I think they kind of understand that. Yeah, this is it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, and I was looking at that game as kind of a lesson learned for the team. Hopefully, maybe tighten things up on the road a little bit, tighten things up in this kind of a spot.
Yeah, and then so to my rant.
All right.
I hate the college football playoff. Number one, I hate it. I hate the conference auto bids for conference champions. I think it's so stupid. I think you're going to, future years, you're going to catch situations where there's one good team in the Big Ten. There's not really any great teams in the G5 group. And you're going to get a situation where an 8-win, 9-win Iowa team upsets undefeated Ohio State in the conference championship.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to get a shitty Iowa team into the college football playoff that does not deserve to be there.
Yeah.
and I think it's so stupid. I hope they get rid of it. And I think even this year, like even though this year that's basically our path
Right.
is to win the SEC championship, and we're in. I
Yeah.
think if we lose, even if we lose the SEC championship, I think we get bounced.
You do. I don't think we are, but I know a lot of people think that way, so I guess we'll see. There's not really a precedent here in the 12 team version, so we'll have to find out.
I would be unbelievably pissed if we beat Auburn, beat Texas, lose to Georgia in the SEC championship,
Yeah.
and then Texas gets in the playoff and we don't.
Dude, that is the nightmare scenario. I don't think it can happen, but hey, we're going to find a lot about how this committee reacts to things right now because, again, we haven't seen this before. So it's scary, man. Right now, I do think that they're not going to want to wrong the SEC like that. I don't think they can afford to do that with so much more realignment to come, with the SEC controlling so many of the power players in the country. I don't think they'll do that to Sankey and the SEC, but I mean, the precedent is set with Texas, them getting that 3 spot, which is a really, really high ranking given
Yeah.
the resume, that they could drop a game and still be pretty high up in these standings.
Yeah, and I think they could. I think they could get away with it by putting in 4 or 5 SEC teams and leaving us out. Like if you put in Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Texas, and you leave us out for losing the conference championship, I mean, what are we gonna say that we didn't get enough teams in when we have 5 teams in?
Yeah, again, auto bids kind of crowd the field, right? I mean, just the fact that you have
Sucks.
them at all. Yeah, and the G5, I mean, there's a chance that a G5 school gets the first round bye because the Big
I
12
know.
has kind of dwindled a little bit in their standing, which
That's
is
that's so mind
insane.
blowing.
It's insane. Can you imagine Boise gets a first round bye and everyone else has to play? All these teams who have gone through conference gauntlets have to play first round games, maybe on the road. That's incredible.
Yeah, and then they would get demolished. At
Exactly. In
least
the
I think
second
so.
round, not even a first round bounce. I know.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Well, and then so the strength of schedule thing too is bothers me too because a lot of these, like wins that we have that don't look as good now, Florida, LSU, like we blew out Florida. We
Yeah.
dominated LSU in the second half, and those teams are not they're not being looked at as great wins anymore, which is annoying to me because I think when people talk about strength of schedule in the country, they don't really talk about how your opponent's strength of schedule factors into how those wins and losses are viewed,
Sure.
if that makes any sense. So like Florida, Florida's a top 30 FPI team,
Yep.
ESPN FPI team, and they've got, I mean, they're I think it's 6 of the top 8 hardest strength of schedules are in the SEC,
Yeah.
and they're one of them. Mississippi State's also one of them.
Yep.
They're the lowest FPI team, and I think they're like 50 something. They're
Hmm.
above 3 Big Ten schools, even though they're the worst team in the SEC. And so these teams that you're beating, like we're about to play Auburn, who's only got 4 wins, they're also a top 30 ESPN FPI team.
Yep.
And it's not going to be an easy game, but you look at it and you're like, oh, they only have 4 wins.
Yeah, and these games that, like you're saying, that are deemed as bad losses, like Tennessee to Arkansas, for example. I mean, what is Indiana doing if they have to play their Arkansas and the Auburns and these teams that aren't perceived as very good, but do rate pretty high in terms of just talent metrics and FPI ratings, and they don't have to go through this kind of a schedule. And I mean, I'm not trying to say Indiana is a bad team or anything like that, but things could look differently even if they have to play those same mid-tier conference teams, if you will, in a different conference. And it's just a very, very uneven playing field in terms of perceiving these teams standing by the end of the year. So it's something that I don't know can be easily fixed because conferences are conferences, and you're not going to have dip over. You're not going to be playing against Big Ten schools. You're not going to have a good mixture. You're not going to be able to hammer out these schedules. And I think that if you want these to be even, you need to be scheduling conference and all schedules maybe a year in advance and try to even this thing out. When you're scheduling team schedules 4, 5, 6 years in advance, you don't really know what you're getting. And these teams you're playing could make, like a Michigan, for example. For Texas, a Michigan win, maybe another year, looks really, really good, but this year it doesn't. So it's really hard to make it even the way the scheduling, the way conferences work right now, and I just don't see how that gets fixed anytime soon.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Texas beating if Texas beat Michigan last year, that's incredible.
For
And then
sure.
this year, Michigan's like in the 40s in FPI. They're terrible.
Yeah.
And so like I saw somebody on Twitter say LSU lost to 5-5 USC, and and it was a Texas fan talking about Michigan and them beating a 5-5 team.
Yeah.
And Michigan's like 40 something in FPI. I think USC's like 16th.
Yeah.
So it's not 5-5 does not. It's not the same thing.
Right.
And I think LSU's a team that doesn't have a chance to win the conference championship, has basically no chance to go to the college football playoff. I think if they're in the Big Ten, they're fighting for the conference championship, and they're fighting for a chance in the playoff.
Yeah.
And it's just because they have to play A&M and Alabama, and they lose those games, and they play USC, who's doesn't have a great record, but is a top 20 FBI team, and they lose that game super early in the year, and I think they just get dinged for it. And I think we're kind of getting dinged the same way for South Carolina.
Yeah.
Even though South Carolina is a top 20 FPI team too. I think they actually might be top 15.
Yeah. No, they've been soaring for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that needs to be taken into account. I think the committee should take into account power ratings a lot more often, even though I know, like, obviously the rankings should not be built off of power ratings, but when you're looking at strength of schedule and stuff like that, I think that should get taken into account.
Yeah, man. And again, I just don't know what the end product will be because they're set to renew this thing or not in 2 seasons. So right now, I would guess that they expand this playoff based on just the situation we have at hand right now, with the fact that deserving teams with tougher schedules are probably going to be left out in favor of teams like Boise and others that are going to make it for having an easier path. So I think it makes sense that the next wrinkle to this thing will be expansion to 14 or 16. But, I mean, do you have any other ideas on what they could do?
I mean, honestly, I miss the BCS.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't really care about, like, it's cool to have a playoff, but I like when I just miss the BCS, I guess. I mean, if you earned it, you had to be undefeated. And yeah, there were times where, like, Notre Dame would go in and play Alabama and get blown out by 40. But I mean, most of the time you got the 2 best teams in the country.
Yeah.
And maybe Notre Dame was also the second best team in the country, and that's just how damn good Alabama was.
Right.
But like, it's not just because they got blown out by 40 doesn't mean everybody else wouldn't have gotten blown out by 40. Even though we beat them that year, no big deal.
Yeah, and I'll say my gripe is similar to yours about this measuring teams on very different playing fields. That's there. But I will say, my take, I do enjoy the playoff. I'm enjoying all these other storylines we're getting. I'm enjoying the margin of teams competing for the highest prize kind of expanding out. And I do like that aspect of it. I'm going to enjoy these home field advantage playoff games. Those are going to be awesome. You're going to get some great matchups in the playoff. I love all that stuff. But it really, to me, I think it's the scheduling of college football that really kind of doesn't jive with what the playoff is right now. So I don't know what the solution is. We'll have to find out.
It's a combo of the super conferences, the playoffs, the auto bids. Honestly, no auto bids would make it infinitely better.
Yeah.
And the home playoff thing is the coolest thing about it.
It's going to be awesome.
That's the one thing that does not need to change. That's going to be so sick. If A&M hosts a playoff game, which I guess is not really probably going to happen because we probably have to win the SEC, and if we lose, we're probably not going to host a game.
I'm wondering, though. I don't know how they're going to handle that spot. I'm very, very intrigued to see because I know some people are speculating that depending on who the team is that you play against and the way you lose the game, I've heard people speculate that the SEC runner-up could be a top around a 7th seed, around an 8th seed, something like that, and be on that cusp of hosting. But who knows? Who knows what happens? But how would you feel, though, other side of it, you have to go to Happy Valley or something in round 1? It'd be scary, but it would also be really freaking cool.
Yeah, still sick, still badass. It's going to be like watching those games on TV is going to be so epic. Like Penn State hosting or us hosting, like college football cathedrals hosting college football playoff games is going to be amazing.
Can you imagine going to one of those, man? Oh my goodness.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work. I have season tickets, so I hope you get some kind of priority if that.
Right.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
I thought about selling my tickets to the Texas game because I'm trying to save up for a house, but
you could almost make a down payment doing it.
Yeah, I'm very diehard, so it's not worth it. So
yeah.
I'm going.
Yeah. Well, all right, I want to circle back real quick to the game this weekend. You gave us a couple of quick thoughts. I think you said that you would expect more of a ball control kind of approach from A&M's offense. Is that what you were saying?
No, sorry, not from A&M's offense. From Auburn. I think that's their path to beating us is like running the ball, controlling the ball, not turning it over. Obviously that's an issue for them.
Yeah.
But I think if they're capable of getting 4 or 5 yards of carry and kind of just pounding away, controlling the ball. That's why I think the score is going to be kind of on the lower end. Like I think we're honestly going to be a lot better than them in the game. I don't think they're going to be capable of doing that. I think we're going to stop them early. We're going to get the ball. We're going to score, and we're going to kind of go up early, and then they're going to try to slow the game down and just like kind of eat away at us.
Yeah.
But if you look at teams that like are similar FPI wise that we've played around Auburn, Florida's like right next to them, Mizzou's right next to them, LSU's a little bit higher than them, but we've kind of dominated all those teams.
Yeah.
That are right around. Like Arkansas is an outlier, and then obviously Bowling Green's an outlier. But those teams, Mizzou, Florida, LSU, we kind of dominated those teams, and obviously it's a matchup thing. It's not all about.
All right.
Talent.
Yeah. I'm going to throw a little bit of a wrinkle at you. I want to hear from you on the offensive side of things for A&M. Those two games you described, the two outliers, Arkansas, Bowling Green. And guys, I'm going to bring up a scary situation here. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But those two games were games where the opposing team had a full week to scout Marcel Reed. What do you make of this Aggie offense with Marcel, without Le'Veon? What do you think this offense looks like if it's able to, cruise?
Well, one thing, so I was at the New Mexico State game, and as I'm watching it, I'm kind of seeing a path. Like you were at, one of your questions was, what does this offense look like coming up? And I think, Colin Klein is obviously a very run-heavy offensive coordinator, going to pound the ball. I think he's going to start building off that and running a lot more, boot play actions, allowing Marcel to have that option to run, and then throwing, bananas or throwing the crossing routes to our tight ends. I think we hit 2 of them or maybe 3 of them against New Mexico State for like huge gains. We missed one that was like going to be huge.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have Noah or Jade or Jabri Barber or something on the outside, and he's going to just basically run a vertical. And if he's got one-on-one, he's got space, we could hit that. We almost hit one.
Yeah.
Like first play of the game, I think
Jade,
it was.
yeah, slide overthrow.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we're gonna be able to do some of that. I mean, it really sucks that we do not have a talented, like, I don't want to say not a talented wide receiver core, but it's nowhere near where it needs to be for us to like truly compete.
Yeah.
In the way that I think we could be capable of this year. Like if we would have got Ryan Williams or Cam Coleman.
Or Lambert Smith, the guy you're playing this weekend, he's quietly leading the conference in touchdowns, I think.
Any of those guys, any combination of those guys or one of those guys in our season, I think is completely different.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, even though it's already been great, I think it's even better.
Yep. Do you expect more 12 personnel, or do you think that was just a product of how they were facing us?
Yeah, I think that was more just kind of the style of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible. I like a lot of the stuff that we were doing, like the boot play actions and stuff like that. And
I'll see a lot more of that for sure.
Power running game and stuff like that. But I think I don't know. I just I hope I liked what I saw from Marcel last game. I know he missed like some throws, but that throw that he made to Theo over the middle,
oh my goodness,
right over the backer, underneath the safety, that throw in the moment, I was like.
He has it. Yeah, he definitely has it. It's just honing it in consistently. When he was rolling out and he hit Jade right on the sideline in pretty tight coverage, that was another great one. And he has that. That's what he did against Florida. I think about that opening drive against Florida and just how good he looked extending plays. He threw across his body across the field in that drive, and he was accurate with it, which is an ill-advised thing to do, but he could do it. It's like he has tools. It's just, the consistency of a young growing quarterback. And I too come out of that New Mexico State game. Yes, he had misses, but I overall feel positive about the progression and the performance in the game, and you can only hope he builds off of it. All right, Big Mac, any closing thoughts for you tonight?
Yeah, I got. So I've been kind of negative. I think about just being upset, but I think one thing my brother always tells me, because I'm a very emotional Aggie fan, and so back in like the Johnny years, I would think about stuff like when we lost the LSU game, I'd be so upset, and he would say stuff to me like, as an A&M fan, you can't during the good times you can't be sitting there paranoid about the bad times that are going to come later on. You got to just enjoy the good times. And I think that's kind of what we need to do right now. This year has been incredible, way better than we anticipated it being.
Yeah.
I think, we found our guy in Elko. We have talent. We have a future. He's recruiting well. We're winning games. It's almost Thanksgiving. We got a chance to go to the college football playoff.
Absolutely.
We got a chance to win the SEC.
It's
I think we
huge.
need to enjoy ourselves instead of, being paranoid that we're going to lose to Auburn. Which actually, there's still a path if we lose to Auburn to get to the SEC championship. But
It's
we
only
would
our
need
second
Auburn.
conference loss, and a lot of teams already have that. You're right.
Yeah, I think we would need Auburn to beat Bama or OU to beat Bama.
Yeah.
And then we would need to beat Texas, obviously, and we would still be in.
Yeah. Yeah. But let's just beat Auburn and make things easy. All right, Big Mac.
Yeah, win both.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. I really appreciate the call. That was a great call. I'll give you a gold star for that one. Really, really good
Appreciate
stuff.
it.
Thanks, man. Have a safe drive.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. It's high stress right now. You're coming off of a conference loss. You lost one of your best players in Moss. So there's a lot of things that make us kind of feel uneasy. But when you stop and smell the roses, which is something you don't really do during a season, you're in an amazing spot. I mean, who would have predicted going into a year one? Maybe some did, but most wouldn't predict that with 2 games left, you have everything to play for. It's pretty cool. And you're in a year one, and you have a hell of a lot of room to grow and improve as this coaching message gets across, as these coaches get their players, because he's done all this from behind. So we do need to appreciate where we are as a program. That was a great call, guys. Let's catch up with the chat real quick, then we'll get right into the next caller. We have Benzo waiting. Good to hear from him. Florida plays Ole Miss. Chomp, chomp. Absolutely. I think Ole Miss has it, but Florida will make it interesting. Florida is an improving team. A different team with Lagway instead of the third stringer they had versus Texas. Really good team at home. An improving defense. I happen to think Ole Miss has too much defensively for Florida to get anything going. Enough to win the game anyway. We'll be keeping an eye on that one for sure, Kelly. That's going to be a great one. Yes, Texas plays Kentucky. I expect Texas to cruise in that game. I expect to cover. I think it's a big spread. I don't know what the spread is, but I think Texas is going to win pretty comfortably in that game. But we'll be keeping an eye on that one live for in the watch party if y'all want to jump on and watch that with us 2:30 on Saturday. I kind of missed the BCS era too, but I guess now everyone has a shot, yeah. Chris says, Drew, keep it rolling. Best show in college, hands down. I appreciate that, man. I really do. That was a great caller, right? Home playoff game would be nuts. Who needs home when you have ball? Indeed. I expect A&M to get a couple turnovers. Yeah, get a couple turnovers, you're going to win the game, as long as you're not turning it over yourself. And they're prone to do that. They've cleaned that up quite a bit over the course of the year, but early in the year, 4 interception game, 5 turnover game, a pick 6 to lose it against OU. If you can force that, you will win this game. We can't let them get a fast start like SC. Please just throw away that SC performance entirely. Nothing like that at all. Except get the pressure, but get the guy down. Kyle Fit, 111,000 for George Strait so we can make history. I think we can get to 110 for the Texas game because with the George Strait concert, you're able to fill the field with seats too. So you probably can't get that, I don't think. We probably need to score about 35 to feel comfortable. I feel like this game could end with us in the 20s and still win. I think we can really stuff that offense if we have a good game. We need to start fast and rattle Thorne, get them on the ground, make them feel us. Absolutely. They're going to take their shots. They're going to drop back. They're going to run a lot of play action. Get them on the ground. Marcel struggles in RPO, although he looked good running it against Mexico State. Absolutely. They drilled it really hard in that game, and I think that's really important to get into this offense with the pieces you have now and get the tight ends involved in that too. Marcel will have a breakout game versus Auburn. He was great in the SC game. He was good until he was getting hit late in the game. He was completing passes, and all of a sudden protection broke down. And then we ran into problems. We had the interception, then we had the fumble, and yeah. I'm sorry, but he's not ready for that environment in prime time. Marcel, this weekend, we'll find out. He did it against Florida pretty damn well. I know it's not the same situation, but he performed pretty damn well in the swamp. JT says, I wonder if there's some stuff going on behind the scenes, recruiting-wise. 2 5-star quarterbacks leaving 2 weeks before signing day for mid-Big Ten teams with legacy. Fishy. It's just money, man. It's money and the fact that it's flip season. I think this is just the new landscape we have to get used to, JT, man. I think this is just bidding wars right now. All right. Next caller. Benzo, you're on with Drew. How you feeling, man?
What's going on, Drew?
Feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good. What are your thoughts going into this Auburn game?
I'm not as optimistic as prior weeks, but my score prediction, I'll get that right off my chest, is 31-13.
All right.
And of course.
Yep.
um, but yeah, no, it just I'm seeing more chinks in the chain type thing. So I'm like obviously, I see like the wide receivers don't have the hands that I wish they had, and so I don't know. It just I'm seeing some of the chink in the chain stuff type thing,
Yeah.
but um, but yeah. So I mean, if we can get past this week, yeah, I'm gonna be all in and stuff. But yeah, I'm a little stressed for this week.
I
And
think offensively, talking about chinks in the chain, I feel the same way. There are obviously some major flaws, and I think that's what's holding us out from extreme confidence.
yeah,
But I think the offensive performance baseline, you need to win this game. If you're able to do it, I think you'll feel a lot better about this team after Saturday, if that makes any sense. I think if you're able to pass this test, I think a lot of our questions will have to be answered offensively.
now, question: do you think it's better if we do a blowout or a close game? Because I'm thinking like, if it's a blowout, we're going to be overconfident. Close
Mm.
game, going to be more on tilt or whatever.
That's a decent point right there. I'm always leaning blowout. I
Hmm.
always think you get the most efficient work, the most effective belief in your team if you're able to go out and just execute to that level. So your score, for instance, 31-13. I think that's ideal. I think
Okay.
maybe it's competitive for a while and you just show you're the better team. You gain the confidence. You hopefully get some starters out of the game. You get to slow the game down. You get to maybe not put as much on tape as you'd want. So give me that blowout. Give me that confidence and still a little bit fear into the next opponent. Yeah, I'll take blowout there. How about you?
I, I like the blowout, but I'm like I wouldn't mind it if it was a close game because then it's just like okay, now Elko has some meat on the bone to like chew on with the guys and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'll say I think the Bowling Green and the Arkansas games, those probably paid dividends in that regard. But this late in the year, I really just want to see things start clicking. But I do respect that opinion because there is probably some truth to that as well.
Yeah, that makes sense what you said.
Yeah.
Um, Now another question: if we were to rematch South Carolina, do you think it would be the same outcome as far as like with the missed tackling and everything?
No, I think that was the perfect storm. I think Lenora Sellers really turned a page. I think he's going to be a great, potentially future Heisman contending quarterback. And I think he showed that again last week versus Missouri, where he passed for 300 plus yards. Same can be said for Rocket Sanders. He showed that he still has that pro pedigree that we always thought he did, at least before the injury. But we also tackled really, really poorly and with terrible fundamentals. I think we had the wrong, or maybe just not the necessary mindset going into that game of tackling those big bodies. And I do think you would approach that game knowing that if you were to replay again with having everything that happened already happened. I think you would go into that with a lesson. And plus, I would just imagine in sports, it's just hard to beat the same team twice as long as there's not a huge talent discrepancy. And of course, there's not. So I
Mhm.
would think that the outcome would be differently versus South Carolina if you played again because they know, okay, this is the baseline of tackling we need. It needs to be better than what we did last time. And
Yeah,
I think that would be a very just obvious progression they would make. What about
yeah,
you?
because like how many sacks could we have had if we
Four, five, six, something like that. We had, I think, 25 pressures in the game. So, I mean, you were hands on the quarterback at least four times, 4 or 5 sacks, and maybe he's good for breaking one. So, 4 sacks, something like that. And those are game changers because if you're bringing pressure and you're not getting home, the offense is just going to have a numbers advantage after that, and that puts them at a huge advantage if you just miss home with your pressures. So you get them, and it's more so than just getting the sack. I mean, you're taking away a big play, so it's just a very very strong effect having those. And
yeah.
also maybe they handle the short yard stuff differently. Maybe you're able to convert some of those half yard situations you couldn't in the game. Maybe just approach it a little bit differently.
Mm. Do you think, on a funny note, do you think we should change the practice jerseys to like a neon yellow or green instead of a black jersey?
Why? Just to
Just
see people better?
Well, no, like South Carolina, didn't they have black jerseys on?
Oh, yeah, they did have black jerseys on.
It just getting out of that habit of like seeing a black jersey back.
No, I'm saying just wear black because you got to be better against these black jerseys, man. You got to be better against them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it's hopefully, yeah. I'm just hoping, and I'm stressing for this week. I just
Well, dude, there's a
I
lot of
pray.
pressure. It makes sense to stress for this one, man. You have so much riding on this game. You hope the team is just locked in and not feeling the weight of the world like we kind of are. And the more I
Mhm.
think about it, too, I get terrified because, again, it is a losable game. But I
Yeah,
also have faith in Elko. I have faith in the staff. We have the talent you need almost everywhere to win this game. And that's
yeah.
not negotiable. You are the more talented team. You're probably I don't know. Are you the better coach team? Maybe. I think you have a lot going
Oh
for
yeah,
you.
oh yeah. It's crazy because it feels like Elko's third year already.
Right, right. He's
Yeah,
beat a lot of teams later in their tenures. I know they're not the best programs, but like a Florida, a Missouri, and LSU. These are all
yeah,
teams deeper into their coaching tenures, and Elko has been able to be the team that obviously wins and in some cases dominates those games.
yeah, yeah. All right, I'm getting a little more pepped up.
Oh, am I making you feel better? I don't want to make you feel too good. You should be nervous. You should be
Oh
nervous.
well, yeah. But it's just like I don't want to be depressed all the
Yeah, yeah, I got you. I got you. Yeah, man, we're all going to be holding our breath in this one. We're going to have fun with it. Enjoy the spot. Enjoy the pressure. This is the kind of game you earn to have the right to play in if you're winning
Yeah,
games in a season. So this is just what comes with it. The pressure builds as the stakes heighten.
yeah. Hey, let me ask you on the shelf behind you, is that the bomb, the hot sauce?
That is the bomb beyond insanity. So what I used to do when we don't have football every week, and I'll do it
Uh,
again once the season ends, I play college football 25. I play it online. I only play as A&M, and if I lose, I have to take a big fat dab of this stuff.
oh damn.
So it's the challenge we have. So whenever the season ends, we'll get back into that where we have the high stakes of taking this salsa, and then I get right into the next game. And if you haven't, you know about this stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
You must
I
have
had
watched
a
the
bad
show.
experience.
Oh, you had a bad experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
This stuff is not meant for consumption. This stuff is meant for pain and destroying the world of man. That's all it really is for.
Yeah.
It's not really meant for enjoyment. It's meant to be like a joke. So it's really painful, and it's just there as a reminder and to keep myself humble.
Yeah. What was it? I was at Firehouse Subs, and they had the bomb there, and my cousin told me, he's like, "Yeah, just put a little dab in there and
Oh, that's
just
all you
taste it."
need. That's all you need.
Dude, I was done for the rest of the day. I was like, no, this is so bad.
Dude, you'll start sweating, your heart rate increases, your eyes will water, you turn it's the full deal. All you need is a little dab. And I do the scoops, little Tostitos scoops, and I'll fill a scoop with that stuff when I lose. It's like a
Mhm.
serious punishment. And for some reason, some sick freaks that watch the show like to see me burn.
So let me ask you, are you up for a challenge if, let's say, A&M goes all the way and wins it? Would you consider doing like a dab like that, or?
I would put it I would rub it in both of my eyes if A&M won it all.
Oh no.
If A&M won it all, I would take a shower in that stuff. I would do whatever it takes.
What's the most you drank of that, or like what's the biggest?
It's probably a full scoops taco, a scoops chip full of it is what I would do. It's like
Oh, okay.
basically maybe a quarter of like an
Yeah,
alcohol shot, something like that.
yeah.
It's bad, man. And I'll say, as I did that show more, I did get a little bit used to it. It's not like the burn goes
Okay.
away, but it's kind of like drinking. You kind of get used to the buzz, and it doesn't affect you as much. It's kind of like that. It's like you feel it, but it's like we've been here, we can get through this.
But this would be like the first time in a while.
Yeah, yeah. This would be the first time in a long time. If I did it right now, which is not happening.
Yeah.
How about this? If A&M wins on Saturday in the watch party, I'll take a shot of it.
Oh, okay.
I'll do that, so you can get a nice sample and you can see exactly what it makes me do.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool.
All right, it's on the line. A&M wins. We'll do a dab of it. All right, Benzo. Any closing thoughts?
Uh, no, I'm just super impressed with Elko and the way he's running things, and just hopefully, everything goes as planned as far as like with the offense. Oh, I definitely expect the defense. I expect the defense to get a pick six.
Really? That's your bold
Yeah,
prediction. Okay,
yeah,
I like it. I think this is a team to do it against.
yeah. And we've been due for one the whole season, so these guys are on fire. They need a pick
I
six.
really like our DBs and their progression, man. I'm excited to see the test against this receiver core that's pretty damn good. But all right, Benzo. I appreciate the call, man. You have a great night.
Hey, thank you, Drew.
All right, another good call. At least raise the stakes. You want me to go more than a bit of salsa, more than a dab of salsa? No, 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 no. I'll do a nice, healthy shot of the bomb live on the stream if A&M wins, and I'll do it. I really hope I take it. I mean, in this case, I want to take it because A&M wins. All right. I was just talking to you in the chat. What's up, noble guy?
Hey, you're a brave, possibly sadistic, man.
I would say more that than brave. Have you tried this stuff before?
No, I haven't. I like spicy food, but I'm not sure I'm willing to put myself through that kind of pain.
Dude, it's beyond. It's just pain. It's really not a flavorful situation. It tastes like burnt chemical and a little bit of lime. It's what it really tastes like. It's awful.
Flavored pain. That's a good way of putting it.
Flavored. We'll use the term flavored loosely, but yes, flavored pain's a good way to put it. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think all your earlier points about especially about the offense were a really good point. I think right now A&M's offense is in an evolutionary / experimental phase.
Yeah.
And we're about to see if next couple of weeks we can execute on what the new plan is. I think whatever we're trying to do, like we've gone through multiple phases of what the offenses look like, and I think it's people haven't quite understood how much change this offense had to go through this season alone. Like we're talking about switching from Connor to Marcel, having Marcel run his version of offense just for a little bit, and then giving it back to Connor, and then ultimately giving it back to Marcel, and then now tailoring the offense, tailoring it to what his skill set the best he can, while also trying to get Marcel reps to learn how to go through progressions and make reads. And that being all said, it's been kind of incredible that we have averaged 28 points or 28 plus points in conference play.
Oh yeah.
So I think, and then all that has also been super supplemented by the fact that Le'Veon Moss has been essentially kind of the fix-all. When in doubt, give the ball to Le'Veon, and he would, carry us to a victory at the very least. Now we're gonna have to work around that, and I think we're good enough to, even with all the players missing and injured, we can do that against Auburn. I think everyone seems to think we score at least 4 times. You have scored 28-17. I initially had that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a field goal in there somewhere, so I keep going back and forth whether I think we score 4 or 5 times in this game out of probably, if I had to guess, 11 possessions, maybe 10. I have a feeling Auburn will try to. It's funny because Hugh Freeze, while he was at Ole Miss, we used to be known for up-tempo offenses. But I think that'd be a recipe for disaster for Peyton Thorne.
Yeah.
And so I could see ball control from them, slowing the clock down, and then limiting our possessions as well. And so I see 11. If we can score 5, that'd be incredible. That'd be a huge turn for this offense.
Be huge.
And I think we can still look like a good offense. That being said, I think I'm going to go 24-17 just because I wanted to go by more than a possession, but I'm going to give Jordan Hare the night and the home field respect he deserves, the voodoo magic they seem to somehow keep themselves in games. Because otherwise, everything on paper tells me that we win by 10 plus points, 11 plus points, really. I want to pick a 31. I really want to pick 31-17 because I think that can be the score. But I need to see if A&M's offense has taken that next step, and maybe we have, and it just doesn't show up on the scoreboard. I hope that we at least look good if we don't, necessarily score. But I think our defense is ultimately gonna, hold the line once again, and 24-17. And then the offense, I will say, if you could tell me that I thought we were gonna get even 6 or 7 snaps from both Ruben Owens and Basantis on the field, I would say 31-17 because I think having those guys on the field would do that much for this team.
Man, I'm just not ready to put faith in that yet, but I think it's possible. Let's say Ruben goes out there this week, and let's just play a hypothetical game. Let's say Ruben is able to play. He gets 7 snaps in the game, and he gets a handoff. What do you expect him to look like right now?
I don't think. I mean, I honestly expect him to look a version like himself last year as a freshman, where he's still an incredible. So long as he's recovered enough athletically, because that's the most important part for why I think he can be a contributor to the team. Because I honestly expect him to look kind of like EJ Smith in the sense like he may need he may have trouble finding the initial holes and following the blocks just because he hasn't done that in a game experience yet, especially on the road like this.
Yeah.
And also, it depends on the condition of the line, which is why I said a lot depends on if Besantis is in it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Besantis is worth like probably the best offensive player to get back if I had to choose between the two right now.
Sure.
But Owens can rip off a touchdown like a home run. He can hit a home run. So even like let's say like he only plays 7 snaps, and he only averages like 3 out of 6, but then on the 7th he can break one long, especially if we're playing complementary ball or doing something that is able to get him in space, because that's what Jimbo was trying to do with him last year. Because he just wasn't great at reading the blocks. I think everyone said in fall camp he was a lot better about it.
Yes.
So we'll see what he looks like now. We obviously haven't seen any of it. But if he gets in space, he can rip one off, which is I think is his biggest asset. And I think it also just if we got like 7 snaps for him, that'd be incredible. Because in Besantis too, even if it's like, let's say we're the game's up and we just rotate them in for a little bit, I want to get them game snaps just so they're in the game and get a feel for it for next week at the very least. Obviously if that's they're actually healthy enough to go and perform and not be a detriment to the team.
I want to get in a little bit more to the O-line with you. So first D-line, I think we feel pretty good about winning the trenches battle when A&M's on defense. So I think you would probably feel the same way, right?
Yeah.
But how about when A&M has the ball? Let's say Besantis isn't a go this weekend. I have a feeling he will be, but we'll see. Let's say Besantis is not a go and you have Shanahan out there. How do our 5 match up against their front 7? Because they're a very multiple unit. They'll move a lot of linebackers, defensive ends around. They'll line defensive ends up interior. They'll move them outside where they belong. They'll be on the line of scrimmage, off the line of scrimmage. DJ Durkin defense. How does our O-line match up against that? Do you think we can win that matchup, or do you think that's something they might have the advantage in?
I think it's almost like a wash.
Yeah.
They're going to win at times, and we're going to win at times. I think that's the drop-off of Besantis, is that we go from a very good O-line to a very average O-line. And that's crazy to say that one offensive, like 20% of your O-line contributes way more than 20% to your
it's because of one. It's like the whole thing with the O-line is you're a position of 5. You're not just one person. So I mean, one person can break an O-line. And I'll say Shanahan has had some really good moments on the year, but obviously he's good for a couple of busts in the passing game, penalties that happen. So yeah, and those can be huge.
And that's the problem, is that I have seen him get better.
Yeah,
it's the consistency of his game, because the problem is like his mistakes, while they're few and far between. Oh, they're not that few and far between, but they're drive killers. They're always drive killers, and it drives me up a wall. It's like I mean, they took us out of field goal range. It made us screw up on a 4th down attempt last week, and it was maddening. So he needs to get better about that. If he plays the entire game this week, and let's say he only limits himself to 1 penalty, even, I'll feel like leaps and bounds better about his progress, because that's what he needs to clean up.
No drive killers, man. Yeah.
Offensive line game plan, or just offensive game plan in general. I think we're going to be 12 personnel a lot, and I want to see way more pulling, pin and pull, because they run a multiple front that's confusing. So I think we counter that by being confusing our own end.
Yeah.
And I would take honestly their best outside linebacker. He's probably the best player on the front 7. I would try to pull, towards him, away from him, just to really try to force the linebackers to be, play sound, alignment football.
Yeah.
And then obviously that opens up the inside zone too. because I think that can be had. I think like it when in doubt, like at least I say when in doubt, run the ball up the middle. But then I've this is where like the drop off from Le'Veon to Amari is concerning because Amari doesn't seem to be able to push the pile or hit the hole quite as decisively as Le'Veon, because Amari's apparently like I think he's got that home run speed in him, but it's the I need a few inches. Can you get it for us? And that's what like
Yeah.
that's also concerning. Like this is where you have to take 2 points off our offensive potential.
I
And then
almost want to say that I expect Amari to get as many reps as Moss has gotten any time this year in a given game. I don't know what that number is or more. I think they're going to lean a lot on Amari. Not obviously the 30 plus snaps we were talking about last show, but I think he's going to get a lot. And I want to say that I feel like there's a really good chance Amari has like a breakout kind of a game in this game, because I do think he has ability. You're right. He's not as good in the short yard stuff, but with the way they play defense, and if you're able to block soundly, if you're able to find gaps, I think you can potentially move bodies with the way they kind of align off the line of scrimmage and A&M's ability to power run really well. I think there is a path for Amari to have a really, really big day. And I was curious. I was going to ask you this because I think we've talked about this kind of stuff before. Like, if A&M does, I've been talking a lot about A&M offensively because that's where I'm very curious right now.
yeah,
If A&M does have a successful offensive game, and let's say that results in between 24 and 34 points, what kind of stat profile you think we're looking at? I mean, who's getting the lion's share of the production in a game like this? What would you say?
I honestly think it might be Marcel because
Rushing yards.
I think it's everything. I think we get if we get 200 plus passing yards out of him, that's huge because like I will say like while I didn't love how DJ Durkin ran his off defense, it's built to confuse.
Yes.
And they sit in zone a lot, and so he's going to have to be able to thread needles and go through his progressions, especially if they do only rush 3. So it means he'll have time in the pocket, but then they'll also be facing him. So rushing may be difficult at that point. Which if you can still beat the 3-man rush and then outrace the zone defenders, that's great. And that will obviously help his passing game. But I think he has going to get better about it. It's going to be. I just want if I can get a game without a pick. Please, no more picks. Like I allowed it in the South Carolina game because of the circumstances. New Mexico was like, all right, just get it out of you, learning experience. But like this has to be like if those two were like initial quizzes, this has to be like the test. Because final exams next week.
For sure. But it's hard to pass that one if you don't get the last regular test.
Yeah,
an A.
This is why I think this is a great test for our offense against Auburn because they do have a very good defense.
I'm looking at the Texas A&M Florida stat line, and I think that game is a good example of what the stat profiles and productivity profile of the team could be. So Marcel had 178 passing on 11 completions in the game. He was pretty explosive because he had the big pass to Cyrus Allen for the long touchdown, 2 touchdowns in the air. Marcel got 83 yards rushing at a 6.4 average. And that was pretty much the factor I think that pushed us over the top in the game was his ability to scramble, especially on third downs, like on that opening drive when we were backed up. But Le'Veon had 110 yards and 6.1 average. I'm wondering if Amari can recreate anything like that. And then where you pick up the 68 plus the 24, about 100 yards you had running that wasn't Reed or Moss that you got from Amari and EJ. Can EJ get close to 40 yards and you make up the rest of that productivity passing?
Yeah, he's going to need to because if he gets 40 yards, that's a good day for him.
Very good.
And he would be able to. That means he would be able to pick up the slack for Amari when Amari's off the field. I think I was going to ask you this, but I was going to. What do you think the game plan is like from a run to pass ratio? I think they're going to try truly go 50-50.
We've been closer to 60-40 running, right? We've been somewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely been 60-40, and I think it's because I'm not sure if it's. I have a feeling Colin Klein would be like more balanced, but his quarterbacks couldn't deliver a more balanced offense. It was like, okay, Le'Veon, you're doing it for us, and we need to win the game. Take over. And so you just hand the ball over and over because, like at the time, Marcel was a brand new quarterback and Connor was struggling. I think this in a Colin Klein offense, you want to be more like 55-45. But with our run game kind of in a very fragile state. You really want to be able to make it most effective by trying to be as balanced as possible.
Yeah.
And I think if you live in the 12 personnel, that's fantastic, because I do think like if Marcel goes off for 200 yards, honestly, 100 of those yards are going to the tight end, because these receivers are just not capable of going for. I don't know. Have we had 100-yard
Yeah, I think
receiving game in a conference play?
Yes, I think it included Bowling Green or something like that. I think Noah had 100 versus Arkansas. I want to say.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Noah had a little stretch there where he was pretty productive.
Missouri was probably, yeah, but
Missouri did I don't remember. I don't think anyone had 100. I think that was a game where Bussy had a lot of yards, but
I also don't put a lot of stock in our there's not a whole lot to be drawn from the Missouri game at this point.
Yeah, different deal.
Yeah, it's just crazy how much this team has looked. Well, I should say could look different. Like we almost have 3 different teams throughout the season. So I hope everyone can appreciate that. What this team has had to go through, and that we're still able to win in all this.
Yeah. And if you want to look at a really potential positive, as we talked about this last show, how spring, off season, fall camp, Connor was running with the ones. Connor was the starting quarterback, and now Reed is finally building a lot of experience, not only in games, but running practice with the ones and in Colin Klein's system. So hopefully that finally starts really paying dividends late in the year, because hopefully that's experience compounding on itself in all facets. And that's obviously glass half full. You hope he takes that next step. That's always the case, but especially with all the quarterback change we've had, maybe now is when he finds out, how he fits into this offense consistently.
Yeah, I think I hope we average for the best. I think if this offense could really help itself, is we could get 25 pass attempts and close to 30 rushing attempts between all eligible runners. Marcel, Amari, and company. And that will really help, because I do want to push the I don't want the Auburn defense to just sit by the line of scrimmage the entire time and then force us into these obvious throwing situations. I do wonder if what the first play is. I really do wonder what the first play is, because he's been known to take
a shot.
shots.
Yep. I mean, it's not just it's the first play of the game, but it's also after sudden change. I mean, a turnover, a possession. He likes to start with his shots. He typically likes to take a shot on the first down of drives, and I love it. I love setting the tone. I love giving that message straight away to the safeties that we're taking shots, but we haven't completed a lot of them, have we?
We could not on the first attempt.
Yeah.
It still serves the purpose of letting them. Marcel, I don't want to say warm it up is the right term, but get a feel for it in the game.
Yeah.
And then, putting it, now they got to watch it for it. But then also I really want to test the inside of the Auburn defense. My only concern is we could probably beat the Auburn defense on a straight battle, but they're just going to sit on it, especially if they key in on that position. Because I do think they're the softest in the middle of anywhere to get after them.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's going to be a real chess match. I think really be good to see is they're going to obviously multiple phases of the game, but that first couple drives from both A&M and Auburn, because obviously both teams come out with their scripts.
Mm-hmm.
If we can kill the Auburn script, because what I want to see is Auburn takes the ball first, and then if we can survive 7 plays and get off the field, get the ball back. Great. That's fantastic. Off to a great start. Means this defense is, because I'm saying all this for the offense because I'm just expecting the defense to hold the line and hold serve.
Yeah.
And then and if they don't, that's a huge issue. Then I'm not going to go down that road right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do beyond after that. And then when we get the ball, I want to see us go on go score on our first drive, which will really help take the air out, because we, for the most part, through the season, we've been great on first drives.
Yep.
And our scripted on our scripts.
Really good.
But South Carolina was the exception to that rule, and I
Mm-hmm.
think we just got crowbarred to the face on that weekend.
Yeah.
And then speaking of South Carolina, I wanted to see what you think about because that second half offense against South Carolina was just like I ranted and raved about the defense, how bad it was performance, and I didn't think the offense was that bad in comparison, but it was still concerning about just 0 points put up in the second half.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, do you think what do you think was that? Because I don't think they played that bad on offense, but then like why was it that we weren't able to actually do anything? Was it because lack of the drop off from Le'Veon, or like because he made Marcel made throws. Was it penalties that killed our drives? I can't remember what like ultimately killed us in the second half.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I know the first drive of the second half, we got that first down, and then we stalled on the second series of that drive. We punted it off. And there's the next one, the one where we gave up the big Rocket Sanders touchdown, and that was a gut punch because you had given up 3 before the half, and at that point the pressure's on for the offense. Then you had a turnover on downs. This is another situation where you went for it on your side of the field, and doing that twice and not getting that twice in the game really just gave them a huge advantage and gave them a ton of juice. So on that second possession of the defense, we got the second possession of the second half, you got super aggressive, went for it on 4th and 1 at your own 31, didn't get it. They got a field goal the next drive. Let's see, there's 3 and out. I'm trying to remember. It was 3 and out right after that. You had a completion to Jade for 6, then you had a Amari run for 3, and then you got stuffed again on short yardage, and that's the one that went to review, and we thought that, I think he got through, but you don't have an angle on it. You remember that play?
Yeah.
And
that's when I started checking out of the game at that point. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
Like, we can't pick up short yardage in a desperate situation. It's over.
So basically what this came down to offensively was you got to 1-yard situations and you couldn't get a damn yard. That's what happened to this offense, and that's when the game kind of, got out of control. You had the huge forced punt, and I think this is where you almost had, like, that play where Shamar Stewart blew them up in the backfield. That ball went flying, but it was a forward pass. Then you had the huge wrap-up by Will Lee to stop them just a yard short or a couple yards short of their first down, I think. You got them to punt. That was either this drive or the next one. And then the next drive, you were able to move the ball, but that's when they started getting pressure on Marcel. That's when the O-line broke down, and that's when he threw his first interception of his career, or his season. I don't know if he threw one last year, but that was his first interception of the season, was when he was under pressure on a first down. He just threw the ball away. And first down, I mean, Marcel needs to learn from these situations, because this was a first down on a must-score drive where he just threw the ball up. And you think about last game, New Mexico State, before the half, chance to get points. Ill-advised ball, just throwing it up with 12 seconds and a timeout in your pocket, take the points. So hopefully this isn't a trend, because we've seen it in the last 2 games. Marcel not understanding this is not a good time to take a risk. So you really hope he's learned that lesson, and that's what happened in that next drive. And then you got them to punt again, and then you had to punt it yourself. And at this point, it's your
I think it was gone. All she wrote after that.
Yeah. Then we forced the fumble. It's like we had another chance, and this is another drive, I remember, where you were able to move the ball into South Carolina territory to their 38. You got it to their 38, and then you just got sacked back to back, and then you punted on a 4th and 21, and that was the white flag. Yep. It was inability to get short yard. It was pressure, forcing Marcel to make mistakes, and that was it.
Okay, I guess none of those look good, but I think it was like the worst performance you could have had from a clutch standpoint, for a critical down standpoint, all that stuff. And then it was like you couldn't get a single thing to go your way. So I don't anticipate like us having that bad of a game, because even in that bad a game, we did move the ball. Like we looked at it. That obviously didn't leave the points, but I think our ability to and this goes back to the overall Auburn A&M game. Like ultimately, what wins it for us is like Auburn is terrible in the red zone, and we're really good at the red zone. Yeah. So if our defense especially puts us up in a good field position, you know what? Now I almost might be able to talk myself into 31.
Yeah, exactly.
17.
Give yourself some short fields. Capitalize on the red zone. And here's the thing. Again, I'm just thinking about this in the South Carolina game. Think about what you had done well on the year so far. You were good at getting after quarterbacks. You didn't have crazy sack numbers, but you were able to make them make mistakes by getting pressure, or at least speed them up. You couldn't do that defensively in the game. And you were also really good at taking care of the ball with Marcel. You had a really bad turnover by Marcel in that game. And you were also really, really good at short yard situations. I think at one point in the year, like 7 games in, you had a 100% conversion rate on 2-yard or less must get to convert situations between Le'Veon and Le'Veon and Amari. You were 100% on getting the 2 yards necessary for either a touchdown or a first down. This was a metric I'd have to find it and pull it up. But you were 100%. You were really good at that. And all of a sudden in this game, you just weren't. It was definitely an anomaly in the areas that A&M is really, really strong in. I mean, again, tip your hat to South Carolina. They got after it. They played amazing in the game. But you were also really bad where you're normally pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully we've learned since then. And then just to wrap that up real quick, I think, okay, if you're running 12 personnel, who do you think the 2 starting wide receivers should be out there?
Last game, it was Noah and Jade, so I would think them two, and then Jabri would be the first one off the bench, and then maybe Moose. If you go into like 11 or something, or you go into a spread, I think it'd be Moose and Jade. I mean, not Jade, Jabri. I would think those would be the next two. And someone was just saying, Miller was saying he wants to see Ashton Bethel Roman play now that Cyrus is out for the year. He looked pretty good and fast in his snaps, didn't he?
I thought so too, yeah.
He looked very speedy.
Yeah, Noah, especially if we run 12, you obviously, like, it puts more pressure on the wide receivers that are out there.
Yeah.
I almost, Noah's biggest contribution is downfield blocking. Great thing, but then, like, in these moments where the play is going to break down, because it will break down eventually, Noah seems like to be a worse receiver to try to make a comeback route and play the scramble drill. He's not built for that at all.
Yeah.
He's almost better on these like just go routes. And he is, he's value there, but it's almost like it's such a lack of a weapon in the downfield. Like I want to see because I think the predominant pass threat. I think Theo is going to have a field day, and it will be a huge because then we can pull the linebackers into coverage against him, and then especially if we do we decided to run a draw play. I think this is we are able to establish the pass game early. That sets up our run game so beautifully. I can't even explain. If we can look competent on the passing game, it would do wonders for this team. So I think we got a test in front of us this week, and it's going to be exciting to see if we can. Because if we can come out this with a big win, that would set us up amazingly. Because we don't want to have I wasn't concerned like your previous caller called about. Would you rather win in a blowout or a close game? I think next week is completely siloed off. I don't think you need that's not gonna whatever happens this week. The only thing that could happen is if we lose this game, as embarrassing that would be for us, it would make us more dangerous. Yes, I agree with that. But other than that, we'd also look like a terrible team in general.
Yeah, I want to come out of the game feeling like this offense has taken steps.
Yes, exactly. Because we're going to need to take another step against Texas, who is arguably even a better defense. A different looking one, but statistically better. And then I think they run a lot of man, but we'll get to that later. I was going to lost it. A completely side note. Did you know Nick Scorton's only 19 years old? Is that true?
He turned 20 early in the year. He was 19 going into the year. He just turned 20 though.
So that explains the hype train behind him trying to get him to come back. Because I was like, there's no way he's coming back. I assumed he was like 21 or being close to a senior. Yeah. And I still don't think he's coming back. But like that's a lot more. The percentage went up significantly when I realized he was that young. I was like, no way, because there's some it's almost like, oh yeah, hey dude, you didn't get enough sacks this year. Your technique could work, be improved. Maybe you come back another year and try to improve your draft pick from 10 to top 5 or something like that. I know. It's kind of crazy to say.
I just don't think he'll pass up a top 15 opportunity. I don't think he will. I know he is young. He's just a year young for his grade, I guess. And it was weird to see the A&M social media profiles just post one more year, Nick Scorton, one more year, like asking him for us.
Everyone. And I'm glad they did. At the very least, like you said, make him feel the love.
Here's the thing we're going to have to learn about. I mean, there is revenue sharing coming up. They'll have a part in that. And there's also NIL dollars you can offer people to stay. So who knows what kind of people you can stay. He would be the highest paid player
on this team, guaranteed.
Yeah. And who knows who else they could pay. They could pay Zune. They could pay Moss. Who knows how that's going to factor in. So it'll be interesting to see when we get there.
Yeah. I think that'll be a fun conversation in the off season is if you want to break up what our break up salary cap.
Yeah.
How you would allot by percentages to certain players. That could be fun. And then kind of zooming out into a more bigger picture of college football playoff in general. I think there's a lot more reason to be nervous about actually being punished for losing an SEC championship than even I initially expressed, because we're all of the sentiment like you shouldn't be punished for playing in that conference championship game. Ward Manuel and the playoff committee have done nothing to assure us that that won't happen. And then
what could they do to assure us that would happen?
They have to definitively say you're not going to get punished for playing the extra game. They have to say that, and they don't say it. They say like the conferences have asked us to grade them through the conference play. So that means like there's not, and that means like so you will dock them is what I'm hearing, because the way it should work, and Josh Pate said, is that like not only should you not be punished by your playoff berth be punished for playing that extra game, you shouldn't be docked a rank if you were to lose a game, because you're playing that extra game. Yeah. So like say you're like the 7th team, you shouldn't even if you were to stay in the top 12 after you lose, you shouldn't be moved down to 12. You should stay at 7 at minimum
for losing the championship game.
Yeah, otherwise you'd completely ruin the conference or ruin the championship. And there's a lot of like I feel like disingenuous like arguments made by particularly Big Ten fans who are like, hey, win your conference, that's all that matters. Why can't you just do that? As if like all conferences are equal, like divisions in the NFL or something like that.
Yeah.
And like they also like say like, why does strength of records matter so much when you can't control that? Like just win your schedule. I'm like, yeah, but like why should a team that is playing like Georgia's number 1 difficulty be punished for like 8-2, or they're going to go 10-2 on that schedule, which is amazing. Like that needs like I don't understand how people can't understand the concept of playing a strength of schedule, and then what would every other team do against that? Like I feel like even Oregon would go 10-2 against that schedule, maybe 11-1 because they're pretty good. But that being said, college football playoff is quite a crossroads right now. We're gonna need to see how this is such a like, because they might just throw out the whole rubric by the time we get to the end of the year, which is what they kind of did last year.
That's how I kind of feel. I feel like after conference championship weekend, they're going to reevaluate everything and just kind of slot how they feel in that moment. But I'll be outraged, whoever it is, even if it's not A&M, if the runner-up in the SEC that loses that championship game gets left off. I will be so mad that they are getting punished for playing in that game. It is so wrong, unless it's Texas.
Yeah, that's true. The one thing about that is like I've seen some fans express concern, and rightly so, because Texas I saw something on social media said like, is ESPN hating on Texas? I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? There is no way in the world. And the excuse they said like, why is ESPN hating on Texas was that they were criticizing their strength of schedule, which is ass in the SEC.
They're just calling it how it is. That's just reality.
It's funny because it's still better than Indiana and Penn State, which is actually mind-boggling.
Yeah,
that's how weak that those two schedules have been.
Yeah,
but Texas, like, if we were to beat Texas, make it into the playoff or the conference championship, lose that game, and we get left out, I'm gonna tell you, I feel pretty good saying this. They're not getting in over us if we're not getting in. You can't. I'm not even gonna go down the path of like why.
There's no way. There's just they don't have the beef. All right,
they would just put Tennessee in at that point.
Yeah, they would put the other team in that's not related to that late loss, and plus they wouldn't have the wins to get in. I wouldn't think, they wouldn't have the wins to get in.
Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for us at that point in the season. I would say like, hey, Ags, we had a great season. We made it to the conference championship. We beat our rival, and we made sure they didn't get in as frauds.
That'd be a 10+ win season. It'd be a great year one. All right, Noble. I guess I'll talk to you on the other side. Or are you going to be around for the watch party?
Oh, yeah. We'll see you Saturday.
Hell yeah. Have a good rest of your week.
Hit that like button, everybody. Gig 'em.
Later, Noble. All right. And then there was one. We got Play to Win. You're on with Drew. Play to Win. Close us out. How you feeling, man?
Hey, buddy. Here I am, the caboose.
I know you're usually first. This is an unusual spot for you.
Yeah, well, I was listening to my high school. We're in the playoffs, Port Neches Groves versus Kaufman, and I had to check in on that game, and we just finally finished it up here just a little while ago. But we won out,
Nice.
going to the next round. As a matter of
Congrats.
fact, when I'm thinking about it, Blake Boast,
Uh-huh.
one of our quarterbacks, he's a Port Neches Groves alumni.
He's an alumni?
Yeah, he's a P&G alumni. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Hey, did you hear Elko talk about this? I didn't notice it in the game, but he talked about it in his radio show last night that Blake Boast, who's a senior right now, didn't get to play in the game at quarterback, but he was on the field for the 12th man kickoff team. He was on the kickoff coverage team, quarterback, playing special teams because he wanted to get on the field one last time.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they called the fair catch. You can't do that when the 12th man kickoff team is out there.
Yeah, I missed it. I didn't realize that.
Me
I heard
neither.
his name mentioned, but maybe that's what it was about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that because he's been with A&M, I think, ever since.
Yeah, maybe been there 4 or 5 years. He's been there a long time, but yeah. Anyway, how you feeling today, Play to Win? Have your feelings towards the game shifted at all? I know we're probably going to get a score prediction from you tonight.
Yeah, I will give a score prediction, and that was a great call with Noble guy. I love listening to you guys talk.
We had some great callers tonight, right?
That was awesome. And Benzo, I got in. That's when I came in on the show when Benzo was talking. He's great.
Yeah, Benzo's a good one.
Yeah. My prediction right now, the score, what I'm looking at, I'm gonna call it 31-21.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah, 31-21. I think that's gonna. Hopefully, that's the final. I can finally get on the board with Noble guy.
I think someone's gonna get on the board this week. I think this game lines up to where it's in this reasonable margin that we've set up. I think it's both teams are scoring between 10 and 34. I think that's where this game's going to end up. So I think we have a good chance to hit one this week.
Yeah. At the very first of the season, I'm sure I mentioned this about the South Carolina game. When we first started doing shows, it was probably it might have been two or three shows in, that my concern was South Carolina. And there's something that just said South Carolina is going to be this trap game. Well, it was.
Yeah.
I hated to be right on that, but that's what happened. I'm not concerned about Auburn.
Really?
I'm really not. I was listening to Noble guy talking. Man, he's really knowledgeable, and the way he was mapping it out with you, and I can see that. What we need to do is score early in the game, often if we can, and shut down their offense.
Yeah.
If we could do that, then I'm pretty sure we'll get the W, and we'll go on to the next game, which we know who that is.
Yeah.
But just take care of business, clean game, no turnovers. Just 5-yard penalties here. False starts and delays or whatever, stuff like that. Nothing major.
Yeah.
And we're going to be fine. And I got that wrong the other night about the bench. That was you corrected me on that. That was who got benched for the penalty.
It was Turner, not Stewart. You got your Shamars mixed up. A common mistake. It's all good.
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to do. I do it all the time.
Stuart.
Yeah, Stewart, you're innocent. You are fine.
You're innocent.
Yeah. Stewart's been very disciplined on the year. I don't think Stewart's been penalized for maybe anything on the year. Stewart's been very disciplined player.
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, I don't hear his name.
Yeah.
Which that's a good thing. I don't like hearing none of our names. And then kudos to the offensive line. Those guys have performed tremendously. They have been exceptional. They have blown holes open for our running backs. They've done a great job. But like I always said, it's always one in the trenches.
Yeah.
Our offense and defense.
Yeah.
Jay Bateman's called some gems.
Oh yeah.
It's like Colin Klein on the other side of the ball on offense. So
yeah,
we've had a good year. We stubbed our toe with Notre Dame, and then I feel like it was a trap game, South Carolina.
Well, you're right, because it had all of the markings of a trap game, man. You're coming off of the big emotional home win, big celebration, big night spot, national game, and then you're on the road the next week, and historically that has been a tough spot to win games. And then you had all the performance markers of a down game where you just, you didn't perform, like we were just talking about the last caller, where you normally perform well. This team has been a very good short yard gaining team. You have to get one to get a touchdown. We get that. You have to get one to get a first down. We get that. And you didn't in the game. You get pressure on the quarterback. You get players down. We've done that in most games. So, yeah, it feels like the trap game got us there, and South Carolina, coming off of the bye, well-coached team, was ready for us. And it was the perfect storm is what we'll keep calling it.
Yeah, so I'm not really I am concerned about Auburn. I'm concerned about every team we play, basically, even New Mexico State, the JV Aggies.
Yeah.
But you can't overlook anyone. You be focused on the team that you're getting ready to play. Be ready.
Yeah.
It's come down to the end of the season. It's the playoffs. It is. It's SEC. Now it's all SEC.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this. I want to get your take on the offense. That's kind of been the theme of the night. If this offense is performing with its best, what do you think that looks like? I mean, is it just a matter of Reed completing passes? Is it Amari exploding? Is it getting productivity from other players? Is it going to have to be just a slow-going O-line trench warfare? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I think it's all combinations. It's combinations of all that you mentioned, but it comes down to execution.
Yeah.
If we execute on offense, everybody, plays their part, runs the plays that they're given to them, and no turnovers.
Yeah.
It's just plain execution. Watch us win the game.
Yeah. No turnovers, no drive killers. That's really the biggest thing I think right now.
It's those penalties that kill drives. It's like that one that we talked about the other night. We had two big penalties.
Drive killers. Yep.
Drive killers, man. I mean, just don't let it happen. Be on your best mental attitude. I was watching the Pulse, and that's when I get to know the players a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
And I hated to see the guys. I'm now trying to remember his name, and I can't remember. He got his senior ring. He knows this is it, and that's it for several of our players. This is it.
Yeah.
And I know they want to win this worse than anyone. They want to go as far in the season as anyone else. Of course, the rest of our players do too, but it's their last. It's their last go around. This is it.
Yeah.
So more power to them, and more power to the A&M Aggies. I feel confident. I feel confident we're going to take care of business.
Yes, and we got to enjoy it, man. You're not always in this kind of position to compete for the highest goals at the end of the year. We're in November, late in November. Everything's alive. We need to enjoy the spot. I know that we're going to be nervous because we're competitors. We want to see our team excel. We need to appreciate where we are as a program. All right, Play to Win. Any closing thoughts?
Just thanks to Noble Guys. Just like I said, always good to hear from me as well.
Yeah, he did.
Like that here
y'all are supportive. Y'all are supportive of each other in the chat, and I appreciate that. Y'all are.
Yeah.
Y'all, Jeb, other guys in this chat that I see all the time. I appreciate everybody who's here, all the regulars, and everyone who stops by.
It's a great lineup of callers, man, and they always got something great to say. That's why I like listening to them.
Yeah, I couldn't do it by myself. Y'all make the show, so it's really great.
Yeah. You too.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed doing it. Well, all right, Play to Win. I appreciate the call, man. And are you going to be around for the watch party? At least stop by?
I'm planning on it Saturday afternoon. Hopefully around 2:00 I can be free. I don't see any plans unless something comes up unexpectedly. Otherwise, I'll be there.
Nice. Well, hopefully it's a celebration, man. I hope it's a great time. But all right, Play to Win. You have a great rest of your week. I appreciate the call.
Okay, till next time.
All right, later. Another great call. A bunch of great calls tonight. We're going to shut it down for the night. If anybody has any points you want me to talk about in the chat real quick, I'll go a couple more minutes in the chat if y'all want to bring up anything you want me to talk about. I see someone talking about ticket pull. President Welsh apologized for that, for missing the mark with the structure of ticket pull this last week. Hopefully they learned their big lesson this week. It has to be better. 92 on defense for us reminds me of Myles Garrett. Dude, he looked really freaking good. He has a major future. Right now he's buried by more experienced senior or veteran or NFL future players at defensive end, but hopefully he can get him to stick around because he could be a monster next year with Ryland Kennedy. I don't know what list eater is, though. You have to enlighten me on the list eater portion of that. Gig'em, says Thomas. All right, guys, if there's no more questions or anything, I'm going to end the show. Sound off one more time in chat so I can say goodnight to everybody. Say thank you just for stopping by, Noah Too Wavy. Thank you, William. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Dylan. West Texas Aggie. Of course, Noble Guy. That one error. What's up, man? Saw Miller Upton in here. A little shy as usual is in here. Dylan. Chris Cobb. Wolfel. Thanks for being here, man. Later, a little shy. All right, y'all. That was it. That's the last time we'll be talking until we're on the field. I'll be going live 2:30 Saturday night or afternoon. We'll watch the Texas game together. Just get warmed up, get lubricated, get ready to go. And then we'll watch the Aggies together, and we'll be going through it, and hopefully we'll be singing songs by the end of it. Thanks for being here, Trey. Noble Guy. Later, y'all. Y'all have a great night. Later, Texas Outboard Jets. You can rewatch it. You can rewatch it. Some great shows. But hey, you get a comment late in the show. Thanks for being here, Texas Outboard. Appreciate you. You made it just in time.